She's an MSA Crusader, stronger than the tide. She fights with every heartbeat, love right by her side. Though the waves have taken the shore away, her spirit shines bright, come what may.
Hi, I'm Daisy,
Hi, I'm David.
and we're the MSA Crusaders.
Hello, we're here today with another episode of MSA Crusaders. We have Crystal, my caregiver, here talking to us today. Crystal, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. David?
Afternoon, Crystal. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for this episode.
So all of our listeners know you guys are in the same room and it's sharing the same microphone and camera. So if it sounds a little distant and you hear a little punching in the background, that's just Daisy and Crystal going at it. Just want to make sure the viewers understand what's happening here.
She'll never punch me.
Can you imagine the podcast in the background like pow, 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 pow?
That would be hilarious.
Yes.
Okay, Crystal.
Oh, well, let's see. I am your caregiver, and I'm also your cousin.
Wow.
Our parents were brother and sister. So
And we're so much alike. So get ready, David.
I'm actually older than her.
No, you both look youthful.
Oh, thank you.
Solid 27.
Stop.
Oh, David, you're too
No, keep going. Stop.
So, Crystal, what brings you around to our neck of the woods?
Well, actually, I was born and raised here, and my mom had a similar disease, I guess you would call it, and she had something called progressive supranuclear palsy, and for short, it's called PSP. And I went through that with my mom, and then
I called her and asked her to become my caregiver.
and since I'm older than her, we knew each other, and family events and all, but we never really got to know each other, and
We were very distant.
yeah, even though we loved each other, we just didn't know that much about each other, and
Oh, and I visited her before I got diagnosed.
oh yeah, that's right.
Crystal, tell me what she said.
So she came over and visited me. This was right before you went to your first neuro.
Yeah.
Or was it?
It was before I had Parkinson's.
Oh yeah.
So it was in 2019.
Mm-hmm. And so she came over and she was sat down on the couch, and I noticed she was trembling. And I didn't say anything at first, and then
Worse than you, David.
I have more in. I only tremble with very action like physicality,
yeah.
and high anxiety. But 99% of the time, you would never see me tremors or trembling anything.
Yeah. Well, I saw her tremble, and yeah, it was. She just sat down on the sofa, and it was like she was in a room full of 1,000 people, and everybody was staring at her or something, and she was scared to death, And so I asked her why she was trembling.
She said, "Why are you shaking so much?"
And so she said that she didn't know that she was had an appointment with a neurologist. It was very soon, I think, within next week or two or something like that.
Yeah, it was within a month, I think.
And so, of course, I said, well, just let me know what the neurologist says. But that was before, wasn't it, that I went through this with Mom?
It was.
I think
It was.
I think it was.
So what happened with Mom, if you want to share?
Oh yeah. So my mom was fine as in she was able to drive, speak, talk. I mean, like have a conversation with you, walk wherever, writing out her bills, and then she started falling, and just out of nowhere, it just came out of nowhere. We thought it did.
And then we left her for phone numbers at the coffee table.
talk slow like a Texan.
They would laugh at her for falling over the coffee table.
It wasn't exactly like that. We laughed at her or anything, but my mom
She would
was,
laugh too.
yeah, mom. Oh, it got to where mom would laugh with us and at herself,
Hmm.
which was very helpful because every time she would go near the coffee table, she would just fall over it. And we couldn't figure out why she was falling over the coffee table. And so I just told her, I said, Mom, just stay away from the coffee table. I just joked with her and told her to stay away from the coffee table. For some reason, you're attracted to the coffee table and you just keep falling over it. And of course, she started laughing about it. And it really just made it easier for me, and my aunt also helped care for her. And it made it easier for us both, I think, that my mom was going through this with us. And so therefore, I try to make it a little bit light for Daisy, you know.
So you were going through your PSP with your mother
Yes.
at the same time that Daisy was beginning her journey really into what was happening with her with MSA and Parkinson's and things like that.
Yes. However, we didn't know that Daisy had, you know, any sort of, we didn't know her diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know my mom's diagnosis. And I actually didn't put, you know, the two together and, you know, till
Your mom died.
yeah, it's probably when mom passed away. But she started falling. She went from, like I said, talking and walking and driving and
Wow, you're real small.
oh yeah, she started, her writing got very tiny. And all of this happened within a year and a half.
Yes. Well, it's funny you say that because, well, it's not funny you say that. It's interesting because PSP and MSA and even like dementia with Lewy bodies, DWB, are all Parkinson's plus, or otherwise known as atypical Parkinson's.
Under the umbrella.
Yes,
Yes.
it is a Parkinson's disease, but it has more features that make it more deadly. So yeah, a lot of the similarities, there are a lot of crossover similarities we see with all these diseases, although they'll never be identical.
Right.
My mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's,
Mm-hmm.
and she was
Yeah.
Parkinson's.
Yep.
So mom was diagnosed. We did, okay. She was supposed to go to,
Oh, get this. She was supposed to go and see Dr. Daw.
Oh, really?
mm-hmm. And my sister happened to be in the hospital. This was somewhere around December. Actually, I think it was December 5th. Not that I'm OCD or anything, but I have my note. But I think it was December 5th. And my sister ended up being in the hospital on life support. So my mom canceled the appointment. And then it took me probably 7 months to get her back in to see a neurologist because it's so difficult, you know.
Yes.
Well, this time we went to Tyler, Texas, and saw a neurologist there. Of course,
That's where I go now.
yeah.
That's where you go. Okay.
And so he's the one that originally diagnosed her with Parkinson's, and I just in my heart didn't believe it. So I started getting, you know, I got on the internet, did a lot of research, did my own.
Now, how old was she at the time of the diagnosis?
Oh dear,
More or less.
she was probably later, probably 75, maybe.
Yeah, I mean
Maybe
that
70.
that
maybe.
range doctors are so quick to go to either dementia or Parkinson's or diseases like that very quickly.
Oh yeah, and I just, like I said, I didn't believe it, so I went and did my own research, and everything that came back was not just Parkinson's. There was something added to that. Well, they put her on Cinnamon,
Mm-hmm.
and of course that made her
I mean, she got sick.
nauseous.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me sick too when I take too much of it.
Yeah, and then they upped it besides the original dosage, then they upped it, I think, twice, and said that if it didn't do anything to help her, then it, probably wasn't Parkinson's. And I was thinking, well, that's probably not going to happen. So it just made her nauseous. That's all it did. And she did not have trembles. So they took her off the Cinnamon, and we're still at this point trying to figure out what was wrong with her. So the neurologist in Tyler sent her to a movement specialist. And at this point, she's continual, and, the falls are more traumatic, where she would, like need stitches or,
Yeah.
I don't think she ever broke any bones, but she did need stitches. And it was a constant back and forth to the emergency room. We took her to the movement specialist, and then she kept saying she couldn't see. And we said, we noticed her decline, noticed that her speech was getting worse, her handwriting was getting worse, she was falling more. She was an excellent seamstress, and singer. And she could not sew anymore, and which was very, difficult for her not to be able to do those activities that she loved so much.
She had a few albums out.
So she had like country albums or gospel albums? Or?
But both. They do have a couple of albums, and one's called Sweethearts in Heaven that they sang together. Did you know about that one? It's a little 45 record. And then Dad wrote a song and he recorded it, and it's on a 45, and my older sister has that. And then he and Mom have 2 albums out there, or 2 CDs.
I had one of them.
One's On Business for the King. Those are gospel.
So when somebody from Texas, born and raised, such as yourself, Crystal, wakes up in the morning and has a yearning for music, do you A, reach for a nice country album, or B, a nice gospel album?
Man, myself would be gospel.
Okay. Just checking your Texas.
If I had to choose between the two, it would definitely be gospel.
Gotcha.
I slept on the pew while my dad led music. So.
Did it have an organ?
Oh, no.
No, okay. Maybe it's just a North thing.
Okay.
Then I asked her to be my caregiver.
Okay, so she asked me to be her caregiver, and I really didn't know much about.
So for the record, is Mom still with us?
My mom passed away since it was progressive supranuclear palsy. It was fast progressing. I don't know how to say, maybe like a fast progressing dementia.
Yeah.
Very fast.
It's very, very similar to like dementia Lewy bodies, and it's on the same timeline as ALS when it comes to PSP.
Yes, it is.
It's very quick. It's usually like 3-ish years.
Okay, by the time they're diagnosed, from what I was told and also what I looked up, by the time she was diagnosed, she had already had it for 5 years, 5 to 7 years.
That was a lot. Yeah, it's good. Good. She had a lot more time than you usually do.
Yeah.
She was diagnosed. She was about 3.
Now,
About 3 years after she got diagnosed.
not even. She passed away 7 months after my sister passed away. So it was in 2021. Yeah. So a year and a half probably is what we had with her after her diagnosis in 2019. So it was about a year and a half. So
Wow. Very, as much as we take MSA for granted, there are worse things out there than MSA. MSA is bad. It's horrible. But, ALS and PSP, there are far worse diseases out there than having MSA. So I always say that to everyone on my YouTube channel. It's just, yeah, it sucks that we have it, but it could always be worse.
Exactly.
Previously I had worked in a care unit caring for people with different types of diseases. And this was back in my early 30s, I guess. And I remember taking care of a man who had ALS.
But that was hard.
That very hard, very hard. And it was hard for him too, because he knew exactly it was very sad. He would cry when I would come in the room because he knew that it was his dignity.
Yep.
And I tried my hardest to make sure that he kept that dignity while I was around. And then it got to where he wanted me to take care of him because he knew that I cared. And I'm not going to cry. But
She's like Daisy.
I'm sorry.
There's nobody like Daisy. Nobody.
Oh,
You'd be surprised.
And to people's surprise, ALS, you lose more and more control of your muscles
yes.
over your entire body, so your limbs go. But
You're
once it gets to your core, where your lungs and heart are, like your body just stops work. Those muscles stop working, and you die instantly. It's such a horrible disease to live with, especially ALS. Losing one part of your body after the other, and once it hits your lungs or your heart, you're done. Like you're absolutely done. It doesn't really affect the brain. The brain's not a muscle like that.
That's right.
But the astrophysicist, what's his name? Not Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Hawking.
Oh yeah.
Had ALS, and his brain. He was the most brilliant person of our time, and he did not move an inch, because he lost his muscles, but his brain was still there, and the computers and all the wheelchairs and stuff. But
it's like he was trapped.
Yeah, absolutely.
In his body.
Yep.
And that's the way this gentleman was. My mom and Daisy have a lot of the same similarities, and it is amazing to me every time I come over that it's like my mom was preparing me to care for her,
And we talk about
to care for Daisy.
we talk about a lot. Like she was meant to be here to help me through this.
I believe I was meant to be here to
Right.
help her through this somehow, some way, or to help me. I don't know.
We've gotten very close since she started caring for me.
Yeah. But now my mom had Lewy bodies, and
Ooh.
also
Well, just dementia Lewy bodies, or just Lewy bodies?
dementia.
Okay, well, that's atypical Parkinsonism too.
Yes. And so then the doctor started explaining to me how this falls under the umbrella of, the Parkinsonisms. And then, like I said, I did my own research. Parkinsonisms I saw well, not completely, but very different than what my mom was, even though it's under the same umbrella.
Yes.
I noticed that Daisy, since she kind of has her mind about her. And
Are you sure? Are you sure about that?
I can say that we're related, but kind of.
So how did you mentioned earlier how Daisy had come over and she was beside herself apparently at the beginning of what was happening to her? What happened after that? How did you apply what happened with your mother and even the gentleman with the ALS to Daisy when she was in front of you? Very not panicking per se, but very worried about what was going on.
Well, I didn't know Mom's diagnosis, and I didn't.
Okay.
And I didn't put together the gentleman that I took care of, in the home compared to my mom. I never had put that together until after the fact.
I got you. How do you, as somebody who's cared for somebody with PSP, known somebody that also had dementia Lewy bodies, cared with somebody with ALS, and now with MSA, how as a caregiver do you actually keep pushing? Because you said something that I value. Words you just mentioned resonate with me more than anything else. That you try to keep his dignity.
Oh yeah.
In my mind, it's pushing. Now, you don't want to be like the gentleman who just said you don't need medicine, you don't need treatment, you don't need this, right? Because it's just flat out denial. But how do you keep pushing people forward without taking their dignity away? I mean, are you subtle about it, or are you like, what do you call it, a drill sergeant saying get up and get your clothes together, or how do you do that?
Okay, I think I know what you're saying.
Because it's easy for somebody. Here's what I mean by that, right? It's easy for somebody to come over and just care for you, and I don't mean to take anything away from what's happening. It's easy for somebody to come over and say, "Here's your food. Let me put your shirt on, and let me wipe your butt." It's hard to come over and do those things and also keep encouraging when you know what's going to happen. And that's something that very few of us are able to do, is to keep other people going when we know what is unfortunately going to happen, such as yourself.
She is a really good caregiver, I'll say. She pushes me. She does.
I want to say this, between Daisy and my mom, when my mom knew that she was getting worse and getting worse, she asked me if she could live with me, if she could move in with me, because I took such good care of her. And so, of course, of course, I was making 5 trips to their house a day at some points. And, I wasn't doing this alone. My aunt helped me so much through this, because my older sister, now this was, like I said, they passed away 7 months apart. So my older sister was living with my parents. And
even though her mom had PSP, she's taking care of her sister.
So
I see the circle here. Okay.
yes, so now I'm caring for I'm not taking care, but I'm caring for my sister, who's, has her own issues, and I'm trying to deal with that. And then I did take care of my mom. And then my sister, like I said, she ended up passing away. And then as soon as she passed away, my mom just went downhill quick. But mom wanted to move in with me. So I took every opportunity I could, and I'll just tell you, we never had a great relationship. But it was the most, I don't even know really a word. Wasn't a wonderful experience.
It was amazing.
It was something that I believe God wanted me to go through, to maybe possibly help Daisy go through this. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we want to get biblical, obviously, depending what Bible we go by, but Bible speaks of trials and tribulations for a reason.
Yeah.
So
I just feel that when I'm over here with Daisy, and she's like, do this, do that, do this.
that's the Disney I know right there. That's the one. Yep.
No, she don't do that. But
I was like, I want some more water. She's like, it's messy.
I asked for 3 ice cubes, not 4, Crystal.
yes, master.
More water, please.
And then she's like, can I have some more, please? And we try to make it light. lighthearted.
We laugh a lot.
We do. We do laugh a lot.
But
Yeah, you have
we
to.
laugh at ourselves a lot.
We do. I believe that I just feel like I'm here to take a little bit of the
She's here for
Stress
mind
off.
therapy more than anything.
stress, maybe. Yeah, mind therapy. I'm
Because
your therapist.
I was so down and
Self-appointed.
down, so majorly down before she started being a caregiver. And we had the same kind of circumstances with our children.
What?
Same kind of circumstances with our children.
Oh, by the way, I say what
Wow.
often.
What did you say?
That's
What?
okay. I'm gonna have a counter for how many what's we said on this podcast.
Oh my gosh.
That's not what I called her to do this podcast. She's like, slow down. You're talking in a foreign language right now.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, she does speak in a foreign language occasionally.
Even my mom, she makes me, I get upset. I get frustrated.
There's nothing like a slurring Texan, you know, a drunk Texan, you know, like yeehaw. It's like yeehaw. Did you say seesaw or yeehaw?
But she noticed that my speech is getting a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, your speech is slowing down a little bit. I try to be encouraging, like when her brush is sitting here a couple of days ago, I said, you can pick up that brush and brush your hair.
Absolutely.
It keeps you moving. I'm pushing her to be the best version she can be at this point in time, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with I don't know what the word phrase is, but the hard method, you know, the tough love sometimes it has to still be there.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were raised that way, so.
I had a stand-up walker, you know, so we get up and I do some marches and butt slaps. Get some blood pumping.
I tell her, slap that rear so we can get some blood flowing through there. You don't want to get anything bad going on down there.
And
Unbelievable.
get this, she's gonna be working extra. She's supposed to be off tomorrow, but she's working 10 to 6 for me, 8 hours. And then Saturday she's working 10 to 6 because we're doing respite this week. My husband get that break.
Who's taking a break?
My husband.
Lord knows he needs one. Yes, absolutely.
My mom's gonna work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and Crystal will work from 10 to 6.
You know, it's very easy to get caregiver burnout.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. It looks like it for my wife here and there. I could imagine.
Yeah, you have to really take care of yourself as well. You know, as if I'm not only taking care of Daisy, I'm taking care, you know, I have to take care of myself, you know, like when I was taking care of my mom, it would just get too much sometimes. And then eventually when she moved in with me, it didn't last long, maybe a month. And I remember laying in the bed with her and saying, I'm scared, Mom. You know, I need to get in bed with you like I did when I was a kid. And she couldn't speak at that point, barely speak. But
then get this, Crystal is buying her childhood home.
oh yeah, I moved back there.
So
Really? That's
the
nice.
Crystal's in the primary bedroom now, and her mom was in Herbert.
Yeah.
That's karma for you, right? That's awesome though. Everybody usually loves their childhood home. That's good.
Yeah, so she passed away in the home that she knew for
That's good.
40 plus years.
I
That's awesome.
always thought that was really sweet.
It is. That's something that you normally, you sell your house and move somewhere else and never look back. You know.
I wouldn't have it any other way. I would take care of her again over and over. Just
I would say you definitely were the care you gave for somebody with PSP tempered you very well, because one of the biggest hallmarks of PSP is hallucinations. Hallucinations run like if you go to the doctor and say you have hallucinations at all, it's never MSA, because the MSA is not a hallmark of hallucinations, but the mind just goes like the sight and the eyes, the falling randomly, and the hallucinations run rampant with PSP. So not that it's great to have PSP, obviously, but caring for somebody with it definitely prepares you for the next phase, whatever that might be.
Right. Mom did do that. She did have, there were times when she said, "Who was that?" Or
Yeah.
she said, "Those cantankerous boys shot the ceiling with the BB gun." And
Yep.
I'm looking around
Yeah.
wondering where they are, you know?
and they could be both. Doctor neurologist will ask you about nightmares as well. So when you have a neuropsychology visit, neuropsych visit, they ask you all these questions very in vivid detail. But nightmares can also when you've woken up acting out your nightmares goes into the same pool as hallucinations for the doctors, and that tells you, hey, it's not MSA or it's not some of these other diseases. But yeah, it's amazing to care for someone that has such issues like that too. That says something.
Yeah. I think maybe I've never met a stranger really. I've always been a very outgoing person.
You know what I cannot stand? What really gets me every time she does this. She lived in Washington.
What about
The tulips. She lived in like a tulip field. She says, "Look, this is my backyard. This is my."
Well, it's true. I did live in the tulip field, and
Yeah.
you know, I have to show her pictures because she loves tulips. So why not show her
Yeah.
pictures, right?
Favorite piece. So she says, "I never don't show me that."
Yeah. The first time we drove through Mexico, before I started flying, first time we drove through northern Mexico by south of Monterrey, I believe. The first time I saw what a rose field actually was. From mountain range to mountain range was nothing but flats.
Oh wow.
And the size of these mountains were different colors of roses. I mean, rainbow color. I've never seen such beauty in my life.
Wow.
That time we went there. So I can imagine seeing tulips would be exactly like that.
That's exactly what it looked like.
It must have been 20 miles each direction, nothing but roses.
Yeah. Well, I lived in the valley, so you could see Mount Baker, in the distance, and that was in my backyard. But but it was in the distance, so I just walk out on the
There's pink tulips on the side.
back porch. And one time I got on the house and took on top of the house on the roof and took photos of the tulips, and it was very therapeutic.
See, kids feel a lot. Those she goes, "Look at my friend."
Well, you have to look at beauty. You can't just, you have to look at the beauty that is, around you.
I want to see in person, though.
Well, if you can't see it in person, then at least I can show you on the phone.
Oh, it's beautiful. A couple of my childhood friends moved from Indianapolis over to, I believe it was Idaho, in the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of nowhere. When it snows, you don't leave the house for days, right? But the views they have are so beautiful that yeah.
They're using potatoes.
No.
No, well, first of all, you only get potatoes from Idaho. You don't get grapefruit and strawberries from Texas. You gotta get those from Florida, okay?
Only oranges come from Florida.
Hey, you said,
And grapefruit. That's correct. Yeah.
didn't you say Idaho?
Yeah. Yes, Idaho. Correct.
That's what I said. Did you see potatoes?
Oh no. So they bought a house and redid it. They bought a very nice. Well, not nice. They bought a beat up barn style house on top of a mountain range or in the middle. The greatest view I've ever seen in my life. And they have a farm, all these baby sheep and goats and little lambs and stuff running around. Yeah, it's the greatest thing in the world. But the views, especially if you're a person of faith, I imagine Crystal might be showing those things because if you are a person of faith, seeing God's creations definitely is an encouragement to see when we're undergoing trials of our own.
Oh, yeah. It's very important to me. Um,
To brag about the view of tulips.
to brag about the tulips. You know, you just got to brag every once in a while.
No. Oh,
You mean to show you a picture
No.
of the tulips?
We will post it on a thumbnail.
Don't tempt me. I will show you.
Yeah, we'll put some on there.
Yeah. We definitely gotten to know each other and
Sentences.
yeah,
So say it again.
finishing each other's sentences.
Oh yes.
And I have noticed lately that I've been her interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
No, she was, but now she's like, what?
And
Say that again?
And I have to give her a power of attorney as well to speak for you.
well,
Actually, she's brain papers.
oh great. Did he understand what you just said?
You said paper. What papers?
Brain papers.
Brain papers.
Brain
Donate-
papers.
Donate.
Oh, good.
I figured it'd be too hard for my husband, you know? So I asked her to do it.
Well, it's going to be difficult for me.
It is. It'll be difficult. It should be difficult for anybody, but I trust you the most.
Yeah, I used to worry about that stuff too. Then I told myself, I said, when I'm dead, I have no say so in the matter. so I'm not gonna get upset about something I have no control over who does what. But yeah, our wishes are, hopefully people follow them through.
I hope.
Are you sure you want to donate Daisy's brain though? Are we sure about this?
Well, I've thought about it.
'Cause I've seen the Wizard of Oz. I'm just making sure here.
They may find things in there we never wanted to know. No, I just feel that it's important to also have, as much fun as you can,
Laugh as much as you can.
sitting and see as much beauty as you can and just experience happiness
Yeah.
in such a dim time in your life,
Yeah.
I just think it's very important. Look at the tulips.
I mean,
Sad when she leaves me every day.
say it again.
I get sad when she leaves me.
Well,
Sometimes she says, "Please don't leave. Please don't leave." I'm like, I have a husband, and
Daisy, if I was her, I'd be giving you the peace sign. Like, I'm out of here.
oh,
No, it's as antisocial as I am. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to have a relationship, and even harder to develop a relationship with a terminally ill person that you know of, and to keep that going. I mean, so many strains go on in a relationship because of the situation, and to keep that going just shows that you two have to be closer to what we think. Very very close.
I would say, I don't see you until Friday. And then Friday after, I don't see you until Monday.
Well, that means that somebody's doing something right.
and then I was surprised that somebody wanted to see me again.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
So this therapy works both ways.
Yeah. I was like,
That's true. Yeah.
wow, she wants me to come back.
So, Crystal, what is the most difficult thing you have to cope with or deal with when it comes to caring for Daisy with MSA?
This will be interesting.
Well, do you?
Because we have, I mean, you're both women, so we have physical barriers, we have mental barriers, we have religious barriers, we have a lot of things.
We basically have the same views. I believe we do in a lot of those areas. But I think knowing that even though we're all going through something, that it's inevitable that the disease is going to progress. difficult to know. But just no, maybe that's why I just want you to be happy. You know, I want to have a happy time with you.
But she also says they're find a cure. Or
Oh, I do. I have to say, I told her the other day, this is very important. I said, we're going to put a glass on this table right here in between us, and I'm going to fill it halfway full with water. And I'm going to make you look at that glass all day long. I mean, that's the type of thing that is, it's important that you have a positive outlook, because who knows, there may be a cure. You know, I don't want you, don't give up. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Just keep fighting the fight. You know?
I agree.
Just keep fighting. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
You know, we're closer to what you think. Matter of fact, we're closer to what most people would ever know, because most people don't do research about these diseases and keep up with it every day or every week, the information that comes in. And let me tell you how close we actually are towards the end journey of having a cure. Just in the last decade, the Michael J. Fox Foundation and one other company have found biomarkers proven that over 92% to test if you have Parkinson's, and if you're going to have Parkinson's within the next 10 years. I think it's like 8 years. So they have already found the primary biomarkers for detecting Parkinson's even a decade before you develop symptoms. Now, why is that important? Because now we can take all this money for trying to find it, how do we cure it? Either being therapeutics, dealing with it, or curing with it. And if you did not realize this week, Crystal, you have spoken about ALS, you've spoken about PSP, you spoke about DB, dementia with DLB, dementia with Lewy bodies, and MSA. And there was a law, a Parkinson's Act, that was passed, and I believe it's already been signed by the president already, that I went to congress.gov to read the wording, because I wanted to know, and it says that the research that the government will now be heading up for defeating Parkinson's is for Parkinson's and its subcategories, aka PSP, MSA, dementia with Lewy bodies, and so on and so forth. Which means we don't normally think the big government is going to help a lot of things in this. We always, especially if you're Republican, we talk about like less oversight, less things like that. But the government has stepped in with other diseases as well, and has brought cures and treatments way before other companies and non-charities or charities can come up with the funds to have all this research. So I believe within the next year, so it's 30 days, 60, and a year that they have to come back to Congress and to American people and say, here's the plan, here's what we see. And the treatment, I don't think people understand how big this Parkinson's Act is, because yes, it includes us with MSA and us with PSP, us with Lewy bodies, dementia, all of us, right? ALS. It includes all of us because we're subcategories of Parkinson's. Not only is it getting funding in a better way for charities and research, but it's also for insurance, for care, caregiving, wheelchairs, medicine, treatment plans. It's everything. And I have not thought in my life, especially since I have had Parkinson's-like symptoms, that we were going to get to some point where now government is stepping in to guide us. And if it was anything else, right? If it was spending money for militaries and tanks and stuff, I wouldn't say anything, because we're very wasteful when it comes to submarines and military stuff. But when it comes to health, when the government wants to do research and do it well, they do. So I don't think we're at the tip of it yet, but I honestly believe we are right around the corner, especially with this new act that they passed, into helping funding for our care and treatment for those that have atypical Parkinson's diseases. Just for the record, I had to say, because I read the whole thing yesterday. I read and read. I said, man, I got to put a video about this. But it's fascinating that it's just not looking for a cure, But from A to Z, from the moment you get it, diagnosing your PCP, your neurologist, your movement specialist, everybody, the treatment options, the payments, they're going to take care of everything in a much more organized manner. Because how many of us have MSA? My doctor says yes to these X-rays and CTs, and Daisy's will say no, you don't need it because of insurance. Well, that stuff is going to go away now because the government will be leading the way and telling the insurance companies what they can and cannot do now, which, in my opinion, is a giant step in the right direction.
Do you see that what I published in the group a while back ago about their treatment for the FDA approved treatment for Parkinson's?
No, I didn't see that, but what did it say?
That was too long ago, I can't tell you. But they do have a treatment now. They started treating Parkinson's.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Parkinson's used to be a terminal disease until the development of carbidopa-levodopa. It was a terminal disease, like MSA and PSP and ALS, until they developed a medication that substituted the dopamine that keeps the body somewhat going. And now Parkinson's is not a terminal disease. Period. End of story. Typical Parkinson's.
I put on my post, I put, what does this mean for us now?
Yeah, you hear that. If you've been to any movement disorder specialist, they will typically, especially in research, they will tell you to your face, as so goes Parkinson's, so goes MSA. It will tell you to your face, we are strictly tied together by we'll say shoelaces at this point. We're tied together. However, there's what, 2 million people a year. There's at one time that have it in the United States of America, and there's like 15 to 30,000 of us. So as goes Parkinson's goes, well, and by the way, Parkinson's is the fastest growing neurodegenerative disease in the world. Right. So it's in the best interest of the government, even if you want to talk about money, to try to get this under control, because the more we develop it, the more money comes out of pockets for the government pays for a half of all expenses for Parkinson's patients, exactly half. So obviously, if they could get that down to say 10%, the government would be very happy. Invest a little money now, a few billion now, and save trillions of dollars later.
Hey, I want to go back to where you said insurance won't cover a bunch of stuff, because I just got this letter this week from my insurance company. They denied my power share.
Yeah, but we spoke about it, and did they say why?
They denied it because, listen to this, I do not fall under these things.
I was blown away.
Help to complete activities of daily living, brushing your teeth, toileting, bathing, eating, grooming, that I need a wheelchair, scooter, or cane, or walker to complete. Require a power chair to get around inside my house. I don't need pressure relief because I'm not at risk for bed sores or pressure sores. I don't need a seat back that reclines so that I can position myself for a tube for a catheter with. I don't follow that. But you don't need positioning because you have a severe problem with muscle movements called spasms and have no one around to recline the seat in a power wheelchair.
It is amazing.
I was blown away.
I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh at that with an example I had over the weekend, earlier this week. I went to Walmart. Now, keep in mind, I don't know what this woman had, her condition. I don't know. Okay, so beside her, she gets close to me, and they're taking care of her. And she's joking that the government took away her Medicare. This woman is happy, frolicking. She's more normal than most women I know of. I can't see a disability in her. And I know that's unfair. She's walking, she's jogging, moving her hands and limbs. Everything is like a perfect human being. And she says they took away her Medicare. And yet we have somebody like Daisy who can't do anything hardly, especially without assistance, and can't get the basic chair. It kills me, and that's what the government is not good for everything. Now remember, what you're talking about is the difference from insurance company to insurance company, which is the problem. Once the government steps in and says, here's the criteria to get a power chair, that's going to help everybody, including you at that point.
And I followed her, except for the catheter, I followed her every single one of those.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. It's like when I went to the Mayo Clinic and I hit every category, and the guy says, well, since you don't have 100% ED, you don't have MSA. I'm like, what in the world? Like you just figure out everything we tested for and it showed positive. You know, like that's doctors and insurance companies, unfortunately, can have their own opinion.
They're a joke.
They can have their own agenda and harm us in the short term and the long run, which is, you know, like I said, I don't enjoy government being in everything we do, but I think with this act they passed, it's definitely going to help out, especially people down the line. You know, maybe not for you and me so quickly, but definitely those that are just getting symptoms now, it'll definitely help out.
But do you think I like being cooped up in one room all day? I could take myself to the other side of the house by myself to have this power chair. I can stand up and brush my teeth in the sink rather than having to in my room and a glass of water spit it.
I don't think the insurance company even cares that you feel that way. I think some of these insurance companies, it comes down to the almighty dollar. And if they can have you do it in bed or a chair, they would rather not spend the money on a chair for you and the upkeep and the maintenance for it.
We're terminal. So,
yeah.
Well, I won't do anything for this person. They're going to die. They'll use up all our money for the guy. Let's just not do anything.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
See, this is why we need tulips. Okay? Seriously.
You're right.
If she's gonna have to sit, or you know, if she not have to, but if she sits long enough, you know, and we just stand up occasionally and try to do a marching.
But you can ask her when I get worked up. I don't have a filter.
Well, that's true. That is true. But same goes with me.
Yeah.
Speaking of chairs, my wife came in before the podcast and she asked me, she says, I can't remember who she spoke to, but someone at the cruise line, because we were running at cruises a couple of weeks, and they said we can rent power chairs for the cruise ship to use on the cruise ship. And I said, absolutely not. It sucks that I can have a power chair on a cruise, but you can't have one for necessities at life at home. I don't like, do they understand that a body in motion, a happy body, a happier body,
Stays in motion.
it has less issues physically. You know, like it actually would save them more money in the long run, if you ask me, to have a power chair than just to be in a bed bound or chair bound with all these other issues. That, you know, just in my own opinion, that's horrible. So, Crystal, I have one last question, just one.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to caring for somebody with MSA, for home care, things like that coming over, have you ever cocked one back for Daisy?
Not yet.
Wow.
You know,
She wouldn't do that.
I would never, ever, in a
Never.
million years, ever.
She
Good.
wouldn't do that. Well, Crystal, thank you for coming on and talking with us today.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
This part of her coming over, I like we talk. We can talk about a lot of things.
We are.
It's really nice.
And speaking of talking, we're also sponsored by the MSA Alliance.
We sure are, David. We have to remember we're all MSA Crusaders.
Yes, definitely go out and check the defeatmsa.org. A lot of information for MSA if you ever need
She
help.
wakes at dawn, the battle's still
Thank you,
on.
Crystal. It's a pleasure.
With dreams of
Oh, you're welcome.
sand beneath her feet, she used to walk that golden shore. Now those memories feel bittersweet. Her husband's smile is her guiding light. Through the storm, he's always near. They talk of days when they'd run and play. Now the twilight whispers her fears. She's an MSA Crusader, stronger than the tide. She fights with every heartbeat, love right by her side. Though the waves have taken the shore away, her spirit shines bright, come what may. The laughter and the tears they've shared are treasures in the chest of time. Even as her strength fades away, she's resolved to stay in the climb. She's an MSA Crusader, stronger than the tide. She fights with every heartbeat, love right by her side. Though the waves have taken the shore away, her spirit shines bright, come what may. And the tears they share are treasures in the chest of time. Even as her strength fades away, she's resolved to stay in the climb. She's an MSA Crusader, stronger than the tide. She fights with every heartbeat, love right by her side. Though the waves taking the shore away, her spirit shines bright, come what may. She can't feel the sand between her toes, but in her heart that ocean flows. With every breath she makes a stand, a warrior in this promised land.